Hey everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. I'm Harry McCullough. We're talking a little Lafourche Parish and their court system in particular. District Attorney Kristine Russell is the district attorney. Jennifer Richard is the first assistant district attorney. So guys, thanks so much for being here. It's been a heck of a 3-year run, right? It's like everybody that comes in and go, hey, 2 years of COVID and then we get whacked by a storm. But the storm was horrible, but COVID really threw you guys back. So you almost had 2 years of no court system.
That's right. We talk often about how far behind we are. Everybody knows the justice system moves slower than a snail. But now after COVID and the delays that we had when we really had shut down for an extended period of time, and then when we finally started to try to get back up, maybe a year after that, we had people getting COVID again, so we had shutdowns again. And then, of course, we had Ida, as everyone knows.
Right.
So we are really behind in our dockets and our trials, and we are just trying desperately to I say catch up, but at least take care of some of those the bigger cases so that we can get to what a docket used to look like before COVID.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
I mean, how far back are you and how fast are you moving now?
Right. So just to explain, like in Lafourche Parish, we have 5 divisions of court. So there are 5 judges, and they each have their own docket. Generally, each of those divisions have 6 jury trials a year. That's it. Because judges have a huge docket. They have civil, they have motions, they have all of our criminal things, they have juveniles. So their docket's very packed. And so we can only really get 6 jury trials in each division. Now understand, in each division of court, you have hundreds of cases.
Right.
So, while plea bargaining, and I know people that sometimes has a negative connotation, it's necessary to move cases forward. As of right now, some of our 2019, some of our 2020 murders and some of our rapes and some of our cases dealing with our little children are sort of priority because those are cases we would have tried but for the delay. But again, remember, only 6 jury trials in each division.
Right,
so
30, so in 5
Yeah.
divisions, so 30 a year. So now you're 60 behind.
You
Right?
really have to prioritize. Prioritizing is difficult because rapes and murders are important. They're very, very important and for families. But, if you're a victim of a burglary and someone goes under your court and you are just a law-abiding citizen and they take something, they affect how you live your life, your security.
Sure.
And so to say that's not as important, I don't mean that at all. It's just that we can't get to those cases right now. And that's unfortunate for victims because they really have to wait till we can finally get to them.
Yeah, and also on the other side of the docket, one of our laws, right, is a speedy trial, right? Yep. So how do you have somebody just sitting around for 2 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we prioritize our dockets and our cases for trial, we want to find those people who, first of all, are incarcerated. They've been sitting, they deserve their day. So we certainly, when we make our list of who's going to go first, we look at who our victims are, we look at how old the case is, and we look at is the defendant incarcerated. There's also something defense attorneys can do is file for a speedy trial, and we have time delays with that. When those get filed, we really sometimes have to move them up to the top of our priority list. We're blessed to have assistants, and I know Jennifer would agree, who really do a great job using common sense of who can we try and who we just have to wait to try.
Can you let out? I mean, do some of them make bail?
The judges sometimes consider that, how long they've been in, and they allow them to post bond. If we get into a situation like that, they look at certain factors. But certainly that sometimes has happened in our cases that they have been able to post bond. If it's a violent crime, oftentimes they don't. But, defendants want to go to trial as well to have their day as well as victims. When you look at, so far we've had about 18 possible chances to try cases. We tried, I think, 12 so far. We had additional ones that started the trial process, and either an attorney ended up with a COVID issue or someone else, and so it got shut down again. So we're still fighting with COVID issues. We have 3 jury trials set for the end of August. And so, if we've done 12 so far and we do an additional 12 the next couple months, that to me is fantastic.
Right. No, that's a high level.
It is a high level.
That's a big volume. Jennifer, you handle mostly the drug courts, right? So how has that affected that?
So drug court is one of, I think, the most worthwhile and rewarding programs that we have in Lafourche Parish. It's been around for over 20 years, and COVID's taken a toll on that as well. We are not taken in the number of people that we once did, because for a while we couldn't get into the courtroom. So we were actually conducting our drug court meetings via Zoom. We had to get all of our clients to Zoom in where we could check up on them and make sure that they were following the protocols of drug court, because part of that is weekly testing, group meetings, sometimes daily. It's a lot of different components, and to try to put all of that together where we were still providing the services was a challenge. But we did it, and I'm proud that we did. Our census right now, we have 81 clients that we're servicing in drug court. And what we do is offer an alternative to incarceration for people that have a serious drug problem, a substance abuse issue. It could be DWI. It could be any other substance abuse. We can take other people, we can take charges like burglaries or things like that if the underlying reason for that is a drug issue.
Right.
And so, in the past, you might have heard of the Justice Reinvestment Initiative and those kinds of things. And drug court falls right into that, where you don't want to incarcerate people because they have a substance abuse issue. If you can offer them treatment and an alternative to incarceration where they can then come out and become a productive citizen in society. And so we offer that option. And it works well. We have a low recidivism rate, and we are hoping to continue to increase the amount of people that we can get in.
Decriminalization, it's swept the country. We've had reforms here in Louisiana as well. Has that changed what you do with the drug court?
It has. It's made it a little more challenging to have people want to accept the program as readily as they did at one time in the past. The penalties for some drug offenses in years past have been higher. At one point in time for possession of heroin or distribution of heroin, you could get almost up to 99 years on that.
Right.
And those sentences have been,
but whatever.
Right. But those sentences have been reduced. And on something like, for instance, possession of methamphetamine, we see that charge a lot. The maximum sentence on a simple possession of methamphetamine is 2 years. So if your options are, I can go into the drug court program, which might be 5 years of probation, it's intensive treatment, it's a lot of things to do, or I can do my 2-year sentence where I'll get out at 25% of the time, so maybe 6 months. A lot of people just choose to, as they say, take the time. Wow. and not do the program. And that's unfortunate, because the program, while a lot of people just see it as a way to stay out of jail, really helps you to rebuild your life.
Right. You got to want to do it, right?
Yes.
To be involved. As a district attorney, and being in a bigger city, I was in New Orleans for a long time. A lot of times with policing, they would get people for what they can get them for. So sometimes they get them for possession of marijuana or whatever, but they knew they might have been involved with other criminal activity, particularly shootings, drive-bys, that kind of stuff. I don't know if y'all have to deal with that on a much different level, but it used to be at least a way, kind of like O.J. Simpson. And I don't want to get, obviously it's about justice, right? But sometimes that's the only way you can get people off the street is with a drug charge or whatever. Has that changed with your ability to arrest people?
The key issue for us is public safety. So we always have to remember that in our office, that's our job, to attempt to protect the public. So to answer your question about, you have them on a charge maybe of possession, but there's things out there that maybe they couldn't prove, that law enforcement.
Right. Witnesses.
Absolutely. So our office meets monthly. Thibodeau Police Department, we have a standing meeting, and I actually am the one who has the meeting with them, and they'll let me know, like, tell me what's going on, tell me what we don't know, tell me what that report won't tell me. And I think our assistants do a great job too of having an open line of communication. If you read a report, it gives you, the version that officer may write, but there's always so much more. And so when we look at a case and we determine, is this something that we can offer a plea on? Is this a guy, when it comes to public safety, this guy or gal that we really need to put away? We need to know what else is out there. What other information do we have on that individual? And then that determines what we'll do as far as a plea offer, or that we'll just take it to trial.
I understand, reform. I don't understand how heroin went from almost a life sentence to now not being, and now you have fentanyl involved in that. Why do we go back one? I understand somebody smoking pot, right? You just throw third time, that's that's different. But how do we go backwards on some of those harder drugs that are killing people?
I think there was a point where we understood. I don't know if I'll definitely disagree with the fact that drug users don't necessarily belong in jail, theoretically. People who are mentally ill don't necessarily belong in jail, and that's fine. And when they did these things about reducing sentences, that's sort of what the reason it was behind it. Then what else is there? And so as prosecutors, we say, that's fine. What other tools are out there? Do we have more places for rehabilitation? No. Do we have more mental health facilities? No. Then for public safety, all we have is incarceration. Right. We're begging for more things, but I think that's the discussion that when we have with reform, then what else can we do for these individuals? Now, when it comes to distribution, I'm with you. I don't know why we would ever reduce, because those are the guys who, they don't get into drug court. Right. She only takes users. She doesn't take the dealers, and those are the guys that we need to focus on.
Right, and literally they're killing people, so.
And that's something that we look at in our screening and in our process for letting people into drug court is have they been a dealer in the past? Are they still dealing? And the sentences for distribution and possession with intent to distribute any schedule are higher than your simple possession sentences. Those are the ones that have been really lowered. They've been lowered across the board, but you can still get, up to 20 years on distribution of some of these substances. And that's a long time when you think about it, but it's just a matter of screening it and figuring out who are the people that need help, that can be rehabilitated, and that are suffering from an illness of substance abuse, and who are the people that are taking advantage of those people by dealing to them and just really having no respect or no consequence for what the community's going through.
Hopefully people want to go into the program to help themselves out, right? That's what you got to. We understand recidivism, but you got to really want to do it, and that's what the program's designed for, right?
Yes, and we do have a lot of people that, even though they're just looking at that short amount of time, they say, I am ready to turn my life around, and this program can help me do it. So we do get those people too, and it's very rewarding when we have them.
Oh, absolutely. 30 seconds, what's next, and how are we going to catch up and finish up?
We're going to continue to be smart about prioritizing what needs to go to trial. We're going to use those jury trial weeks to make sure that we don't, I say waste them, that make sure that victims and defendants have their day in court. We're just kind of staying on top of that for the rest of the year and going forward. So I think about being smart and deliberate in our priority list, making sure that we go into court when we need to, and again, moving dockets as fast as we can.
Right. You're going to do a couple trials yourself, right?
That's it. That's right.
Absolutely. It's a tradition. Well, Kristine, thank you. Jennifer, appreciate it.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this edition of Body Time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.